And welcome to the Sedro Woolley Rotary Club, the greatest Rotary Club in the. Thank you. As we express our gratitude this Memorial Day, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter the words, but to live by them, from John F. Kennedy. Today's invocation is by our Chief of Police for a few more days.
Right, 52 and a half working days. Don't really have an invocation. I'm not much of an invocator, but I came up with some quotable quotes, kind of like, the theme that Rich has been going with. The first one, Anthony Robbins, the past does not equal the future. And then from Buddha, do not dwell in the past, do not dream of the future, concentrate the mind on the present moment. And a couple more from Ayn Rand. The question isn't who is going to let me, it's who is going to stop me. And this one was particularly, I think, applicable to Rotary. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. That one really hit home for me. And then the final one was from the Jedi Master Yoda. Do or do not, there is no try.
Thank you, Lynn. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Four-way test. Is truth, is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you. Song is
On Your Table, continuing with our military theme. If you need it, we're going to do the Air Force song. And wait, it's always much more fun to start the song standing next to Keith. All right, everybody got it? The Air Force, off we go into the wild blue yonder. Ready, set, go. Off we go into the wild blue yonder, climbing high into the sun. Here they come, zooming to meet our thunder, Adam Boy, the gun. Down we dive, spouting our flame. Thank you for carrying us, Keith.
Do we have any visiting Rotarians with us today? Visiting Rotarians? None, okay. How about guests of Rotarians? Seen a couple out there, I thought. There we go.
I am honored to have my wonderful guest today, Lauren Harden. She is a resident of Sedro Woolley. She's living right next to our office. It's a really long commute for her. She works primarily remotely. She works for a recruiting company that looks for people with expertise in marketing and communication. And she is thinking that maybe Rotary is just a place for her to apply her skills and energy to benefit the community. Welcome, Lauren.
Thank you.
We have another guest here. Jason Easton's back. Welcome, Jason.
Oh, Jason. Any other guests? Okay, with that little club business, first of all, call on John Janicki.
Okay, we're gonna get people together if possible to take care of Carl's project. Is there anybody that can help on next Saturday? It's Memorial Day weekend. We got Eric. Anybody else? Okay, a lot of people are gone. I understand it's a Memorial Day weekend. People I've called are already like literally gone. And then like some people are going to Europe. and things like that, you know. But anyway, Kyle, you think so? Okay, and Maggie, I think I got enough. So we're gonna go, and I'm gonna call around a little bit for the people that are not here, and we're gonna start at what time, Carl? Okay, all right, 8:30. We'll get the thing done, and we got a little bit of paver work to do, a little deck work to do. And and I'm going to recruit some other people. I might get a couple of ringers, you know, I might bring a couple of ringers. So we're going to get this thing done for Carl and Yulia. It's going to be really, really great. And then I'm going to be in charge of the next one, which I think I bought. And who's the sergeant of arms? When you speak out of turn, you should, you know, that should cost. Thank you very much. We'll take care of that. But we're gonna, we're not a tree killer. We're gonna plant trees in the fall. Okay, and I don't need a damn bulldozer. Anyway, that's another story for another time.
Okay, thank you, John.
Okay.
While we're on the subject of work parties, Becky Eldey called me this morning. She could not be here. They are trying to finish up, or we're trying to finish up the Camp Kirby project, which is flooring. They need a couple people tomorrow at 11 a.m. out at Camp Kirby for 2 hours. She's trying to get it in little shifts so it's not too difficult. And then on Saturday at 8 o'clock, she needs 3 or 4 people out at Camp Kirby. Becky, you can call Becky. She can give you directions. It shouldn't be terribly hard work. It's just kind of laying planks down, as I understand, for the floor. So if you can do that, Becky would greatly appreciate it. This is a project that we are joining with the 4 other Rotary clubs in our district to get that done out at Camp Kirby for the kids. So if we can get some volunteers for that, it'd be greatly appreciated. Does anyone else have any other announcements? Phil?
Okay, we're putting the final touches on the directory for next year. If you haven't touched this thing or talked with me or sent me an email, let me know. Ruth and I met today. I'm going to try to meet with Rich this afternoon if he's available. But we're coming down to crunch time. We've got to get it done and we've got to get it printed. So last chance.
Thank you. So if you need to make some changes in there, make it. If you want to get a new picture in, for example. Anniversaries. Oh, wait a minute.
One
Tim,
more announcement.
I'm sorry, I forgot you,
we're-
Tim.
We're having a work party also this Saturday. This is for Team April, who they probably don't even know about it yet. It came up pretty quick. So Brock and I we're kind of planning this down at the high school. We're going to be pressure washing the pavers that are on the east side of the gymnasium. They have, I think, people's names on them that are dedicated. And if you go out there, you can't even read any of the names. So we're going to go out there at 8:30 in the morning on Saturday. Chief Wagner has been nice enough. He's going to have actually a truck or an engine down there that's going to help us hook up hoses to some pressure washers. So I think we could probably use 3 or 4 more people. And if anyone has a pressure washer, we're looking for maybe one more that has like the lower PSI, because the gas ran stuff is probably just going to pick up all that grout. And so we need something that's a little bit less. I think Brock has an electric one. So if anyone can come out there, it's 8:30 this Saturday at the high school. We'll have the fire truck down there and we should be able to whoop it out in probably 3 or 4 hours. Thanks.
Thank you. Eric?
So I just wanted to give a quick update on the sound system install. I realize it's not very visible, but they have started pulling wires anyway in preparation for getting the gear in. So it has begun.
Is there an estimate on when it will be done? With that, can we, any other announcements? Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. Anniversaries. I know, I saw you. I apologize. Yuya.
We have 4 wonderful couples celebrating their anniversaries this month. We've got Avery and Lisa Martin, and Daryl and Betty Heisler, Teek and Ann Martin, and they are all gallivanting somewhere celebrating, not here today. But guess what? We have Lynn and Carla Tucker, and Lynn is here today. Lynn, would you say a couple words?
You betcha. So 36 years as of the 31st of this month. And thank you. So basically I won the lottery in 1986 and got a good pick. And I've kept her ever since, and it's worked out pretty well for me. Not exactly sure for her.
Well, thank you so much, Lynn. So why would you, will you choose the one that is looking at you that you think Carla would like? Oh, all right, there you go. Happy anniversary. And that leaves us the opportunity to auction off 2 beautiful roses. Who has something that they are thinking that they might help in their family situation by bringing a rose home? Hey, $20 is all we're asking to contribute to Rotary, and you get to take the rose home.
Pat's got one. Thanks, Stephen. Now, if I didn't forget anything else, I think it's time now for the Wheel of Fortune. I forgot the name. It's the raffle.
Number 6, lucky number 6. There we go.
Okay.
Spin the wheel or grab a bottle. Sorry. Good try, Carl. Good try. Number 65, number 65. All right, boss lady. There we go. I'll peek in her office later and see if that's open on the desk. Number 40, number 40. All right, Tim. Let's see if there's a space on there. It says, run the auction again next year. Run the auction again next year. Oh, cash, $25. You do one more? And since we felt sorry for Carl, we'll do one more. Oh, this is the luckiest. Jack, can you see what number's on my place right there? Lucky number 13. All right. I don't drink wine, but my son-in-law wipes my booze out. This one looks funny.
That it? Thank you. I now we can call Sergeant of Arms. That Pat.
Continuing with the work party theme for the day, if you have not volunteered at a Rotary work party in the last 12 months, $2. What's that?
We've had one work party, so
If you didn't go. Next, if you are not wearing your Rotary pin, have a Rotary coin, or wearing anything else with the Rotary emblem on it, $1. Your badge does not count. Thank you for that clarification.
badge doesn't count?
Badge doesn't count.
Oh, jeez. Need some picker-uppers, I think. Yes.
Okay, happy bucks. Anybody happy today? Anyone happy today? No one? Daryl's happy.
Got a happy $6. The month of May has been very eventful in our family. We've had 3 great grandchildren born. We have 2 weddings this weekend. And because I'm going to be in Utah next week, instead of being here for the Rotary Scholarship Awards, we have a granddaughter that'll be receiving one of those, graduating from Sedro Woolley High and also from Skagit Valley School.
Anyone else? Actually, we'll stop here at Danny first.
I got a happy 5. My little league team that I'm coaching, we picked up our first win last night, so that was pretty exciting. And then I just want to say that donations for the auction are still coming through. I just got a notification on my phone that another $500 donation was made. So.
I got a happy 10, 1 for missing the last 2 weeks. I got to go to Chicago and go to my very first National Boys and Girls Club conference with 2,800 people. And we had our anacortes breakfast this morning, and it was the first time in 2 years in person, and the kids got to be there, which was really phenomenal and wonderful. So it's been a good day.
All right, I got a happy 5 just for a simple reason, and that's this Thursday's golf league night for us. And for the first time this season, we won't be wearing rain gear and torrential downpours.
Anyone else happy today?
I'm happy for a couple bucks that I don't have to play Mike Mosier in golf anymore as I did last night.
Well, I'm happy. Thanks, John. I really appreciate you stepping up on the work party. And when yours comes along, I'm volunteering to be there. I will be there. And if you want me to be in charge, I'll be in charge. All right. Thank you.
Any other
Anyone
happy
else?
bucks out there? Okay, thank you. I'll turn it over at this time to Miriam to introduce our speaker.
It is my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker for today. Bill Henkel is Executive Director of Community Action of Skagit County, a multi-service nonprofit agency that touches the lives of over 34,000 per year, helping about a quarter of Skagit County's population by stabilizing lives, equipping families to exit poverty, and strengthening our community. Bill first joined Community Action in 1999 and has served as its literacy program manager, community services director, and since 2008, executive director. He has also served as the founding director of the Whatcom Homeless Service Center, a coordinated community-wide approach to ending homelessness. Bill served as a Peace Corps volunteer in Mali, West Africa, at the time the second poorest country in the world. He earned a BA in economics from William and Mary and an MA in communication and writing from Oregon State University. He serves or has served on many boards locally and regionally, including the Washington State Community Action Partnership, past president, Washington State Coalition for the Homeless, Home Trust of Skagit, Skagit County's Population Health Trust, Mount Vernon Chambers Board, Skagit County Affordable Housing Advisory Committee, EDASC Strategic Planning Advisory Committee, Skagit County Mental Health Advisory Committee, Skagit County Behavioral Health Allocations Committee, and many other local and regional boards. He is also a member and former Community Services Chair on the Skagit Mount Vernon Rotary. He is especially interested in initiatives that encourage and link collaborative efforts to move local individuals, families, and our community itself toward prosperity. Let's give Bill Henkel a round of applause.
Thank you, Miriam. Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for having me. Yes, I am a visiting Rotarian, so I should have raised my hand there. And I know that your group, hopefully I can handle the technology up here. Your group is a leader amongst Rotarians and amongst all service organizations. So thank you for the incredible work you do. And it's good to be amongst friends. I've been here several times before, but it's been a while. Why? Because of COVID. So just starting to get out again, and how refreshing that is. I did want to thank Becky Scrindy from Helping Hands. Jason Easton is also here today as a guest. Becky helped set this up, and we really appreciate it. And Jason, we've got, I'm going to talk about affordable housing today, and something that we're cranking on mainly. I'll do a little bit of the community action thing. Jason is serving on our very small housing work group as we try to get creative in solving the key issue in our community. So we appreciate, Becky said, hey, we want to lend you some of our expertise, and what a great partnership that is. I also wanted to acknowledge Philip Prudhomme, who is our relatively new donor development director. We are so pleased and honored to have him. You might know Philip from a lot of different areas, including his leadership at United Way of Skagit County. And he's just quite a guy. So he's going to thank you for running slides today. I'm unable to multitask, I believe. And Quinn McMahon is here too. He's newly joined to our team and works over at the Food Distribution Center that I'll mention at least briefly here in Sedro Woolley. And he is quite a human being as well. So Quinn, thank you for joining us. If you don't know about us, thank you, Miriam, for the introduction. 1 in 4, 1 in 5 folks that we touch. Often it's people struggling to make ends meet. And our doors are busy, even during COVID, they're busy because we do so much. If you look on your table, if you want a cheat sheet, the handout actually has a list of some of our major services, but they're kind of always changing. We summarize them by saying that part of what we do is stabilize lives of people who are
facing a crisis. Sometimes it's homelessness, sometimes it's being on the verge of that. Sometimes it's hunger. Sometimes it's another crisis in their life. And we help them make their ends meet. And we also try to equip people with the tools and embrace them with the support they need to get out of poverty and move ahead. And then we try to work with our important community partners like you all, like Helping Hands, like the other incredible organizations, the school district, and all the good folks working to make this a better place. And we appreciate that. The number one need of the people walking through our doors, and maybe through Helping Hands, and maybe amongst the folks you know, even in your family, whether you have parents who are trying to stay stable in their housing or kids who are trying to locate. I live over in Bow Edison now and was recently in the homeowner housing market, and holy moly, that was a ride. If you're a realtor, you know that it's been 40, 50 years. Who knows how long it's been since we've had a market like we've had. And you can imagine if you have a limited income, trying to get into that requires quite a lot. So that's kind of a summary of our mission and what we do. We do serve all of Skagit County, and pleased to do so. Some might know about our service center over in Mount Vernon across from the Riverside Health Club. We do in Sedro Woolley have the food distribution center again, and that's in partnership with Helping Hands and the other food banks, and I'll mention that in a little bit. We're up in East County. If you go up into Concrete on that little Main Street, the county owns the Ted Anderson East County Community Resource Center. We manage that in the Concrete Center up there, and it's kind of a little enclave of our human services and a lot of partners coming together to try to serve those folks who are relatively isolated from a lot of services. We're out in Anacortes and out on Whidbey NAS with our WIC services and other services. So we've got quite a spread, and we're out on the streets too. A lot more these days, by the way. Folks, you've seen it. There's folks out on the streets, and we're trying to get to know them and create relationships, often partnering with law enforcement or others to try to create a relationship of trust with folks who are really struggling. This is the food distribution center, and essentially it's a storage and warehouse for the food for the emergency food system. And if you're interested, it's kind of a neat operation for a nonprofit. It's owned by the county currently, and we've managed it, I think, since 2006, since its inception. And Quinn and the team are over there, and a bunch of volunteers. And a lot of the food, about 80–85% of the food that goes out through the emergency food system stops through there, and really important anytime in the everyday crisis that people face if they're trying to feed their families, but also in the crisis like COVID, when hunger went up. And back in the Oso landslide days, that was the center that provided food for the folks impacted by the landslide and the emergency workers. So if you want a tour next Tuesday, please come by 4:15, 5:45, or let me or Philip or Quinn know, and we'll get you hooked up. It's pretty cool to see the operation over there, and the huge freezers and fridges that sometimes are crammed with food, though we're trying to get it out to people. Next slide, please. This is a little busy, but we try to track what our impact is in the world and in this community. And there's a lot that we're very proud of here, and we want to always do more. Never enough, always want to do more. But last year, for instance, up in the top left, 476 households avoided eviction. Again, during COVID, a lot of people's incomes were impacted, and we were at the center of an effort to try to keep people in their houses and try to keep landlords being paid rent, having rental income, equally important, especially in this housing market. There's a number of other things that are worth mentioning in there or checking out. Certainly, we work with 348 seniors or people with disabilities to help them stay stable in their own home and independent. Through the food distribution center last year, over 9 million pounds of food went through that center and out to the emergency food system. Normally, we crank it about 4.5 million, 5 million pounds per year. That's a sign of need during COVID, and that's a sign of community generosity rising to meet that need. And my guess is members of your club or your associates, and certainly Helping Hands and an incredible expansion and its role in the community are hugely to thank on that. Lots of other good things to talk about. The next slide is simply saying that last year we served 1,343 people from Sedro Woolley. So we're also here with our wrap of services, whether it's veterans or households just needing that basic needs to stay stable. 304 Sedro Woolley households receiving home heating assistance to help them pay their bills, and 134 Sedro Woolley residents getting some level of housing assistance. So we're here in the community trying to serve as well as we can and always want to do more. Had a great meeting the other day with Mayor Johnson, and what a delight it is to see such incredible leadership and talk about things we can do better for the community. The next slide shows essentially the income range of the folks that we're serving. That big one is 0 to 30% of the area median income. That shows that most of the folks that we are touching have very, very low incomes. They still, a lot of them are employed. If they're not employed, they're probably seniors who are beyond their employment years, or kids, or people with disabilities. And a lot of the folks that we see just are struggling to have 1 or 2 or 3 jobs. But the 0 to 30% range puts you kind of on the, often on the edge of homelessness, if not in it. That would be a single person earning $1,442 per month. And if that single person was earning that and trying to pay rent on the average 1-bedroom in Skagit County, by the way, this is before lots of rents have been jacking up lately, but they would have to pay 89% of their income to retain housing. So things are pretty tight. Next slide is the bearer of bad news, Bill. I came here to cheer you up, but we end with solutions, or an attempt at some creative solutions. Unfortunately, Skagit County has the distinction of having the lowest rental availability in the state of Washington, of any county in the state of Washington. Us and Yakima seem to vie for the bottom of that, and you know, part of it is this is an awesome place to be and live, and so people are moving here, and especially during COVID, for sure. But there's a lot of other reasons for that, and we'll try to touch on some of them. Probably people in this room know a lot of the reasons too. But it's something that I think groups like this need to know about and need to be fully engaged with. We got to change that. We got to get off the bottom of the list, and we got to move our community up. Boy, I'd like to be at the top of the list, but I would be happy if we started moving in the right direction, and I think we can. It's a matter of will and knowing how it's impacting our community. And by the way, not just people. Well, it's always people. It's always about people, but businesses as well. Miriam said that I'm the president of the Mount Vernon Chamber Board this year, and we asked our business members, what was, you know, there's workforce issues, everybody knows that, but what are the things that are really keeping you from sustaining and thriving? Number one was a lack of a housing that their employees could afford. It made it hard to attract and retain employees, even employees making fairly good money. Some contractors making 6 figures are like, yeah, well, I can make 6 figures, but how much is it going to cost for me to live here? I can make the same over there. And these choices are being made and impacting our ability to respond. and grow and thrive. So it's a human issue, but it's also an economic vitality issue, as EDASC knows and Chambers know, and many of you know as well. There was a Skagit Council of Government report a couple years ago, and it pulled out a few things. You know, it's not rocket science, this solving the housing crisis. It takes a lot of will, and there's big dollar signs involved. But right now, across the county, our mix is 71% homeownership and 29% rentals. And according to that study, based on the income levels, what people are earning here, it probably needs not an exact flip, but a bit of a mirror of that, about 60-40 in terms of rentals versus home ownership. And that's going to take some doing, you know, and it's going to take some density, essentially, because we want to keep our farmland, et cetera. So the report said there are three things besides that housing mix to mesh with local income levels. Of course, regulation and policy. What are we doing in terms of encouraging housing that people can afford for the wages they're getting here, often at the jurisdictional level? Infrastructure and developer capacity. We've got wonderful private developers here. There's several in your community, which some of them, by the way, doing affordable housing projects as private developers, which is incredible as far as I'm concerned. But there are not enough private developers and nonprofit developers to catch us up in this issue. And there are several reasons for that. We need more folks in the game, especially in what people call the missing middle of housing. That's workforce housing often, or housing for seniors, et cetera. And then obviously funding and access to capital. So this, thank you for the sneak preview. You read my mind, because this is the project that I hope to talk for a few minutes about today. We call it Cascade Landing. This is in Burlington, across from Asia One Restaurant and across from what used to be the shopping mall. And yes, the shopping mall should be turned into housing, if you ask me. Great parking. Anyway, we were searching for how to get into creating that missing middle, housing people could afford who live and work here. And by the way, Peace Health, Chris, they got excited about what we're doing and helped provide money to bring on some expertise on our staff, because boy, there's big dollar signs, and you got to know what you're doing if you get into housing. Let me just back up and say, normally a nonprofit will try to find a piece of land. Good luck. And you got to find it, and you got to buy it, and usually it's got wetland issues or zoning issues or whatever, and so it's big risk, and there's stress. And then they say, okay, let's figure out how many units, and they design it, and then it's like, okay, now we got to raise 5 million, 7 million, 15 million bucks. Then they go out and raise it, and everything depends on everything else. And 15, 20 years later, they get into their meeting, and then perhaps some of the neighbors are concerned about it, as they should be, you know, and then that drags on. And it just goes on and on. Plus, if you get your federal or state funds, you've got a series of things you're going to have to do, and it jacks up the cost, and it extends that timeline. There are very good reasons for nonprofits to do that, especially for people who are struggling with behavioral health issues. You need that level of federal and state funding. It's super important, but for catching up in the missing middle, it ain't going to cut it. It's too time consuming. So we have our Skagit Vets Connect is in the base of this building, as well as our energy assistance. And we were talking to the owner. This is commercial office property. And I don't know if you would say our community is lousy with it, but there's a lot of commercial office space. Not all of it is used. Yes, and Dan Mitzel is the owner, and Patty Birkland, his partner. And he was having a hard time filling it. And we got together, we knew we wanted to do something, and he said, well, what if it's zoned mixed use in Burlington. City was on board, yay. And what if we turned part of this building into residential? How could we do that? And could we create affordable rentals? It's a commercial office space, so it has very few bearing walls, so it's easy to move walls and create living units, apartments, self-contained apartments, mainly studios. And we came up with a design concept of 34 units there, mostly small studios, a few one bedrooms, a few two bedrooms. And Dan Mitzel, who does hotels, et cetera, he's got subcontractors. He's got access to capital we don't have. He's got a building we don't have. He said, okay, we'll build it if you master lease it or purchase it. And let's see how much it will cost, and let's negotiate a return for my private investment in my work. So we negotiated. It's a decent return for Dan. He's a private investor, private developer. We did our cranking out of, if we had rental income, there's no state or federal funds coming in to support the ongoing operations. It's all through the rents. And our goal was to create affordable rentals for people earning 60% of area median income, less if they have a rental voucher. By the way, we've got a lot of rental vouchers for people who are struggling, but we don't have any place for them to spend them. So there's that as well. And we figured out through our math and a lot of advice from people who know what kind of costs to expect, that if we raised $600,000 and Dan built it and the rest was private capital, we could pay his master lease and we could rent out the 34 units affordably, and boom, we're off to the races. It's under construction. It will be done in July or August. And we will start putting 34 households into this in July or August. Knock on wood, construction, but somewhere in that range. You'll be invited to the ribbon cutting. Pretty cool. It's not the only solution out there in the world, but the point is that to catch up, we need partnerships. We need partnerships with cities. We need to be creative, whether it's converting commercial office space that's underutilized into residential space, or whatever the creative notion is, the shopping mall. My gut tells me there's some creative space here in Sedro Woolley, and we would love to partner with you all and figure out some good work here. But certainly we're cutting our teeth on this and building our staffing capacity. And partners between private developers, private financing, and nonprofits to come together and try to find a way that we can build housing more quickly, more units that is quality, and we can get people off the streets or out of being on that stressful verge of being on the the streets. And I would love to talk to any and all of you if you want to know more. But that's what we're cranking on, and we're not going to be purists. We will sometimes go the traditional route, for sure, if we're serving people with complex needs. Here, we'll have veterans. Robert and Becky Gates, thank them. They were initial donors. They gave seed money for that. There's Skagit Vets Connect. There'll be 10 units prioritized for veterans. We'll have young adults there. We'll have people coming from our partners or from our own team. And we will learn to be a landlord. So please wish us luck. Give us an extra cookie. And that's the, oh, it's gone, darn it. That's my spiel. I know I took a fair amount of time, so I don't know how many minutes you have for Q&A. Go ahead, Carl. Okay, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. It's residential. The whole upstairs is converted to residential, and the whole downstairs will stay commercial. Their zoning is mixed use there. You could do up to 50% of the first floor residential, but we couldn't figure out how to pencil that and get enough units. So we just did the second floor in residential. Well, we're taking up a chunk of the building, so we're personally okay with it, but there are others. And that is a very good question, is that mix of personally, I would rather turn the full thing into residential. I think that would have been a lot easier to do, but the zoning didn't fit. And one of the battles you don't want to go into in affordable housing is a zoning battle if you can avoid it. So, yep. Yeah. Any other questions? Appreciate your time. Yeah, this is permanent housing, not transitional. But our lease term will likely be 6 months with extensions. And that will be just to make sure, because it's fairly tight units, that people are being good neighbors. So that will likely be the lease term. We're really nailing that operational detail right now, but that will likely be the lease term. But people, as long as they're being good neighbors, can stay as long as they want. Our guess is because there are smaller units that some people who need credit or rental history before they can be more successful in the open market might end up with us. And then if they're able to move out into a bigger space, that would probably happen. That's our guess. It's a bit of an experiment. Jason. Thank you. Yeah, Dan left a lot of money on the table. And I think what we need for this kind of model to work is the developers who both want some return, so it's not a full donation, and have that heart for community and a heart for the issues. So thank you for saying that about Dan and Patty, because I think it's true. Yes, sir.
Yeah, this project number of units
about 3,500. So we got, if we can do 100 of these projects, we got her made. Yeah, and so that's why it's not going to be solved just by nonprofit. Well, of course you know that, but it's not going to be just solved by nonprofits. There's not enough dollars out there in donations or public funding to solve this problem. It really is going to have to be some creative partnerships. And the term out there is social investor. It's someone who is got a big heart and doesn't want to put all their capital out as a donation. They want that to have some level of return so it can do more good. And I think that's a creative space, especially for big money projects like housing development. Yes, sir. No. No, I did. That was not a statement about Sedro Woolley, but there's going to have to be some changes to some jurisdictions for sure. Yeah, and some other ways to get at it, we are looking at a bunch of sites in Mount Vernon, and they either have wetland issues or they need zoning changes. That's what we found. And again, for us to put up $1 million down as a nonprofit to get a site that we're not sure we can get to the finish line, that's asking a lot of a private developer. Of course, they've got a scoping team and that sort of thing, but I think it's going to have to be a combination of zoning and creativity. I do think there's some, we've been talking to school district, Mount Vernon School District about some of their land. PUD has some land, county, well, I don't know about the county land, but the point is, I think we have to really get creative about where we're going to site these, and we want them to mesh with the community. My vision is that the housing people can afford makes a more livable street, and the downtown businesses benefit because there's more people on the street in the evening, and young people want to come back here, and all that good stuff. Seniors don't have to be displaced or live in your basement, whatever it might be. So, yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Yes, I understand that frustration, and I got it. And you're right on point. We would rather not be in the business. Honestly, we stood on the sideline for a long time, waiting for the world to solve it. So we'd love to step out of it again, but we're stepping in because it's the #1 need. And I hear you. There's a lot of complications. So thank you for that comment. Yes, sir. Sure, and Jason's here too. Yeah, we don't hand out food to people. That project is like infrastructure. It is a storage and distribution, and so Helping Hands is the organization that's actually feeding people directly. And so our team is all working on like every Friday, semis pull up from Seattle with food, or we've got 25 farms we work with. There's a number of sourcing, but they come in and we've got a huge freezer and a huge fridge. Again, the tour is kind of cool, and you can see the network. And now Helping Hands is, of course, taken over ownership, thankfully, of a lot of the food banks, because it's a hard business to be in, that food bank business. I call it business. Now I'm thinking of things as business, which is good, actually. So we're the distribution and storage. We're kind of the backbone part of that. And then Jason and Becky and Helping Hands and the other food banks are the ones serving folks. And it's a great partnership, and we really appreciate it. Both and sometimes there's a little bit of bleed over, like we've send out a truck to serve some seniors, and Helping Hands does tons in terms of bringing in food directly and helping out other food banks. But that's kind of the essential difference. And Jason, I don't know if you want to pull out any other pieces.
It's going to hit there and then go out. They acted on extra. In our space, we got out to that's different than what. Tremendous partnership. What I haven't heard it all mentioned is.
Yeah.
So, Helping Hands food bank purchases food at a discount.
Oh, and that doesn't purchase, no. No. Yeah.
So what we receive has to take federal food that goes through these.
Right.
So because of the size that we are, we receive at a level process. That's not where we receive. What we receive, some of that they must.
Yeah, thank you. And for instance, on the protein and dairy, the farm connections are helpful in addition to what Helping Hands is doing directly. So it's all for the same thing. And we're not charging them for that food, for the emergency food system. It's a support system. Hopefully that answered your question. I think I probably took all my time and then some. Thank you, Rich. Appreciate the time.
Showing up.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'd stay around and answer questions. Anybody else has them? Sure. And here's
Oh, thank you.
a pen for you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for appearing.
Accoutrements out of.
Yes. Okay. With that, anyone that can get out to Camp Kirby tomorrow at 11 or Saturday morning at 8, it would be greatly appreciated. Again, contact Becky about that. With that, we're adjourned. If you can help clean up, please do.